Be me, 34-year-old yoga instructor. Moved to Portland 3 years ago. Opened my own studio called Sacred Feminine Flow. Thought I finally escaped the patriarchy. Surrounded by crystals and good vibes. My classes focus on empowerment and sisterhood. We chant affirmations before every session. Business is doing okay. Mostly women in their 20s and 30s. Some of them bring their boyfriends. Boyfriends always look uncomfortable. Good. One day, I get an email. Local business association wants to feature my studio. Interview for their newsletter. Finally, some recognition. The interviewer shows up. Her name is Janet. She is 58 years old. Been running a bakery downtown for 30 years. Seems nice enough. We sit down in my meditation corner. Incense burning. Tibetan singing bowl nearby. Very aesthetic. So tell me about Sacred Feminine Flow. I launch into my speech. This studio is a sanctuary for women, a space free from male gaze and toxic masculinity. We celebrate the divine feminine here. Janet nods, takes notes, asks about my background. I explain my journey. Was a marketing executive in Chicago. Burned out from corporate patriarchy. Quit everything. Did a 200-hour yoga teacher training in Bali. Came back enlightened. Janet asks about my business model. I talk about intention and community. She asks about revenue streams. I mention class packages and workshops. She asks about profit margins. I feel slightly attacked. This is not about profit. This is about healing. I tell her money is just energy exchange. Janet writes something down. Asks how long I have been in business. 3 years. Asks if I am profitable yet. I explain that success is not measured in dollars. Success is measured in lives transformed. Janet nods again. Her face is unreadable. She asks about my employees. I have 2 other instructors, both women, obviously. I pay them fairly. Well, I pay them what I can afford. Janet asks how much. $15 per class. Classes are 75 minutes. She does math in her head. That is $12 an hour. I clarify that they also get free classes, and store credit for merchandise, and the experience of working in a healing space. Janet writes more notes, asks about benefits. What benefits? Health insurance, sick days, vacation. I laugh. This is a small studio, not a corporation. We operate on different values here. Janet moves on, asks about my landlord situation. I rent the space month to month. Landlord is this older guy named Frank. He is fine, I guess. Typical boomer energy. She asks if I have a lease. No formal lease. We have an understanding. He knows I am good for the rent. Mostly. Janet asks if I have ever been late on rent. Maybe a few times. The universe provides when it provides. Frank has been patient. She asks about my business insurance. My what? Liability insurance in case someone gets injured. I have not really thought about that. People sign waivers. Janet explains that waivers do not fully protect me. One serious injury could bankrupt the business. I tell her I trust my students to be mindful. She just writes more notes. The interview continues. She asks about marketing. I have an Instagram, 2,000 followers. I post affirmations and class schedules. Sometimes photos of my cat. She asks about my website. I have a Wix site. It works fine. She asks if I collect emails. Emails feel intrusive. I respect people's digital boundaries. Janet asks about my competition. I bristle at the word. We are not in competition. We are all part of the wellness community. Abundance mindset, she rephrases. How do you differentiate your offering? I explain that my studio is explicitly feminist. We center women's experiences. Other studios are more mainstream. They welcome everyone equally. which sounds nice but actually dilutes the feminine energy. Janet asks about my pricing. $20 per drop in class. She asks what comparable studios charge. I do not really track that. She says most studios charge 15 to 18. I explain that my classes offer more value, deeper spiritual connection, intentional community. Those things are worth the premium. She asks how many students per class on average. Maybe 6 or 7, sometimes fewer. She does more math. Asks about my monthly overhead. Rent, utilities, supplies, insurance. Oh, wait, I do not have insurance. I tell her the numbers work out. She asks if I have an accountant. I do my own books. She asks if I am incorporated. I am a sole proprietor. She asks about tax planning. My friend helps me with taxes. She has a crystals business. Janet closes her notebook. Thank you, this was very informative. I feel good about the interview. Finally, someone documenting my journey. Article comes out 2 weeks later. I am excited to share it. Open the newsletter. Start reading. The headline: Local yoga studio struggles to find sustainable model. My stomach drops. The article is balanced, but brutal. It quotes me accurately. Every word I said sounds different in print. My business practices look chaotic. My finances look precarious. My treatment of employees looks exploitative. There is a section comparing me to other studios. Studios that have actual business plans. Studios that pay living wages. Studios with proper insurance. Janet interviewed Frank, my landlord. He said I have been late on rent 5 times. He was considering not renewing my month-to-month. I did not even know he was considering that. She interviewed one of my instructors, who said she loves the studio, but wishes she could afford to make it her main job. She works 2 other gigs to pay rent. I am furious. This was supposed to be a puff piece. This was supposed to celebrate my vision. I called Janet immediately. You completely misrepresented me. She is calm. I quoted you verbatim. I reported what you told me, but the framing? You made me look incompetent. She asks what specifically was inaccurate. I cannot name anything. It is all true. But the tone. She explains she writes business profiles. Her job is to examine how businesses operate. She examined mine. This is what she found. I tell her she does not understand. My studio is different. We operate on feminine principles, not masculine corporate logic. She is silent for a moment. She says something I will never forget. I have run a bakery for 30 years, raised 2 kids, employed 15 people over time, all while being a woman. I do not think business fundamentals are gendered. I think they are just fundamentals. I hang up on her, post the article on my Instagram. Caption is fire. Internalized misogyny in journalism. This woman tore down another woman's dream. She does not understand sacred economics. Hashtag feminist business. Hashtag sisterhood. My followers are supportive. So sorry this happened to you. Jealous women are the worst. You are a queen. But some comments are different. I mean, she is not wrong about the insurance thing. Paying $12 an hour is kind of rough. Have you considered her feedback? I delete those comments. Toxic energy has no place here. Then the tide shifts. Someone shares the article in a local business group. People start discussing it. Not everyone is on my side. One commenter is a yoga teacher from another studio. She says $12 an hour is below industry standard. She says month-to-month rental is risky. She says waivers do not replace insurance. She is a woman. Attacking another woman. I respond publicly, you are part of the problem. Women should lift each other up. Instead, you are tearing me down. Classic lateral violence. She responds calmly, I am not tearing you down. I am pointing out business risks. These are the same things I had to learn. The hard way. I am trying to help. I tell her I do not need her help. I need solidarity. She stops responding. More drama unfolds. Frank sees the article, calls me the next day, says he needs a decision. Formal lease, or I need to vacate in 60 days. He has been patient long enough. I am shocked. Frank, I thought we had an understanding. He says the understanding was him being nice. He cannot keep being nice indefinitely. He has a building to maintain. I accuse him of targeting me because I am a woman. He is confused. What does that have to do with rent? I say a male business owner would get more flexibility. He says the tenant before me was a man. He evicted him for the same issues. That is why the space was available. I tell him this is not over. Storm out. Start a petition. Save sacred feminine flow. Describe the harassment I am facing from the newsletter, from other women in the industry, from my own landlord. The petition gets 200 signatures, mostly from my Instagram followers. Mostly people who have never visited the studio. One of my instructors quits. She says she cannot afford to work for exposure anymore. She got a job at the other yoga studio, the one with the instructor who criticized me. They pay $18 per hour. With benefits. I feel betrayed. After everything I did for her. She leaves for money. Capitalism has corrupted her. The other instructor stays, but she asks for a raise. I explain I cannot afford that right now. She says she understands. Her eyes say she does not. Weeks pass. Frank gives me the deadline. Sign a lease or leave. The lease has terms. First and last month, up front. Proper insurance required. No more late payments. I cannot meet these terms. I do not have the savings. I do not have insurance. I have never been on time consistently. I start looking for a new space. Everything is expensive. Everything requires what Frank requires. Plus, credit checks. My credit is not great. I pivot to outdoor classes. The park is free. I call it earthing practice. Grounding with the Divine Mother. It works for a while. Then it rains for 2 weeks straight. This is Portland, after all. Classes canceled. No income. I post about my struggles. The algorithm does not care. Engagement is down. People have moved on to newer causes. One day, I get a message. It is from Janet, the journalist. She says she felt bad about how things went. She wants to help. She has a friend who runs a small business incubator. They help entrepreneurs get on solid footing. No judgment, just practical support. I am suspicious. Why would she help me? She ruined my business. She says she did not ruin my business. She reported on my business. The problems existed before she wrote about them. They would have existed even if she never showed up. I do not respond. Months later. Sacred Feminine Flow is done. I cannot sustain outdoor classes through winter. I have no space, no instructors, no money. I get a regular job, marketing coordinator at a tech startup. The irony is not lost on me. Back in corporate America, the belly of the beast, but they pay me a salary, with benefits and a retirement plan. I hate that it feels like relief. I still do yoga at home, still meditate, still believe in the divine feminine, but something has shifted. I replay everything in my head. Janet's questions that felt like attacks. They were just questions. Questions I should have asked myself. My instructor who left for better pay. She was not a traitor. She was someone who needed to pay rent. Just like me. Frank was not targeting me. He was a landlord who needed rent on time. A reasonable expectation. The yoga teacher who criticized me. She was not jealous. She was experienced. She knew things I did not want to hear. I think about Karen from the other studio, the one who criticized me. Look her up online. She runs a successful business, employs 8 people, pays them fairly, has proper insurance, been operating for 12 years. She is a woman too. She figured it out, without blaming the patriarchy, without claiming sacred economics. Maybe she was not the problem. Maybe I was. This thought sits with me for weeks, uncomfortable and heavy, but I cannot shake it. I message Karen, apologize for what I said publicly. Tell her I was defensive. Tell her she was right about the insurance and wages. Hit send before I can change my mind. She responds the next day, surprisingly warm. Says she made similar mistakes when starting out. Everyone does. The difference is whether you learn. We meet for coffee. She tells her story. Started her studio 14 years ago. Almost went bankrupt twice. Had to learn business fundamentals the hard way. No one taught her. She had to figure it out. I ask why she is being nice to me. I was terrible to her online. She shrugs. Says she has been terrible too. At various points. Growth is not linear. She offers me a job, teaching 3 classes a week at her studio. $20 per hour. Not great, but not exploitation either. A starting point. I hesitate. This feels like defeat. Working for someone else, after running my own studio. But also, maybe learning from someone who succeeded is not defeat. Maybe it is just learning. I take the job. It is humbling. I am not the boss anymore. I follow her systems, her scheduling, her policies, everything I used to dismiss as corporate. But the systems work. Classes run smoothly. Instructors get paid on time. The studio is insured. Frank's equivalent here gets rent on time every month. No drama. I start paying attention to how Karen handles problems, to how she treats vendors, to how she manages money. None of it is patriarchal. It is just organized. 6 months in, she promotes me to lead instructor. I manage the other teachers now, hire and train new ones, still under her, but more responsibility. I am good at it. Turns out I can manage people. When I am not also drowning in chaos. When someone else handles the business. I start taking small business classes at night. Accounting, legal basics, marketing strategy, things I dismissed before. They are not gendered. They are not patriarchal. They are just information. Tools that work regardless of who uses them. A year later. I run into Janet at a coffee shop, the journalist who wrote the article. I almost avoid her. Then I do not. I sit down at her table. Thank her. She looks surprised. I tell her the article was accurate. I was not ready to hear it then. I am ready now. She nods slowly. Says that took courage. She asks what I am doing now. I tell her about working for Karen, about the classes I am taking, about maybe opening another studio someday. A real one this time, with a business plan. She smiles, says she would love to write that article. When I am ready, I say maybe in a few years. Walking home, I think about my journey, all the things I blamed, the patriarchy, toxic masculinity, internalized misogyny, jealous women, capitalist systems. Some of those things are real. Sexism exists. Bias exists. The world is not fair to women, but also, I was bad at business. I paid people poorly and called it empowerment. I skipped rent and called it sacred economics. I ignored insurance and trusted the universe. I dismissed criticism and called it lateral violence. The patriarchy did not make me do those things. I did those things, and when they failed, I blamed everyone but myself. Maybe the most feminist thing is not making excuses. Maybe it is doing the work, actually being competent, actually treating people fairly, not just talking about it. Be me, 36 now, still teaching yoga, still believe in empowering women, but also believe in paying them properly, and having insurance, and paying rent on time. Not as romantic as sacred feminine flow, but it works. And working is its own kind of sacred. Sometimes I think about my old Instagram posts, the ones calling Janet a misogynist, the ones calling Karen jealous, the ones about sisterhood while I paid my instructors poverty wages. I cringe hard, but I leave them up as a reminder of who I was and who I am trying not to be. The end.